Hello and welcome to another edition of the AFTV podcast Transfer Special. On today's show, myself and co-host Mario will be interviewing Jeremy Smith of French Football Weekly, in fact, about the hopefully imminent arrival of one David Ospina from OGC Nice. Good afternoon, Jeremy. How are you?
Hi, not too bad, thanks. How are you?
Not too bad. Mario, you all right there, mate?
Hi, mate. I'm fine. Thanks for asking.
Good stuff. All right, so Jeremy, the Nice president came out yesterday or this morning or whenever to say that the terms have been agreed on a possible transfer of David Ospina to Arsenal. What can you tell us about him? I mean, how he came to Nice at a very young age, didn't he?
Yeah, he's kind of a very early bloomer. Even at home in Colombia, I think he made his debut at 16 years old, which, you know, for a keeper especially is very young, sort of it'd be nice to say it's in the mould of people like Buffon, who were also thrown in at a young age and kind of, you know, sink or swim, and they immediately swam. And so even though now he's only 25, he's actually very experienced and, you know, quite rightly going on to great things.
He stuck around there for a long time. I mean, I think a couple of years ago there was talk of him going to Turkey. I think it was at Besiktas, but he decided to stay at Nice, didn't he?
Yeah, I think each summer there seems to be rumours about him, but I don't know if it's a kind of loyalty thing. He, as well as his ability on the pitch, I think he's very well respected as a really good guy, very loyal. And sort of typically for a lot of French clubs, every summer sort of each team seems to get rid of another talisman, and Nice definitely seemed to be one of them. So although there's often been interest, I think it probably speaks quite highly of him that sort of he didn't want to leave the team in the lurch, and kind of each year he said, all right, I'll stay for one more year, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What kind of character is he?
He's I don't know whether it's safe to mention it on the podcast, but you know, I don't want to mention Spurs too much, but there's a lot of comparisons with Lloris, who was his predecessor at Nice as well. He's kind of quite a quiet guy, but again, sort of as the years go on, he's gaining in confidence. He's not a sort of huge shouter, he's not overly flamboyant, but he just kind of exudes a lot of calmness, a lot of confidence, in the rest of the team, in the fans, especially in his defence. Just, you know, really good guy.
Okay, Mary, you got any questions?
Yeah, I have a few. Hi, Jeremy. Good to have you with us today.
Hi, pleasure.
Well, as Giles said, OG&E's president said that a deal has been agreed. I mean, the conditions of the deal. RMC Sport reported that a deal for Ospina is done, as well as L'Equipe followed it this morning. How good of a deal is this for Arsenal, taking into account price, stature of player, and his impact in the squad?
I think it's a fantastic deal for Arsenal. For me, as a sort of French football correspondent, it's constantly frustrating how cheaply French teams let their players go. And I mean, it might just be that, you know, relative to the Premier League, where the money's just ridiculous for transfers, but 3 million for a keeper of Ospina's standard, I just think is absolutely fantastic. And to have, assuming that Szczesny will stay as the number one keeper, to have a keeper of Ospina's quality on the bench as backup is, I mean, if he is the backup, I would say you've got the best reserve keeper in the league by a long way. He deserves to be a starting keeper in any of the top clubs in the world, in my opinion.
Nice.
Yeah, 3 million's a bargain.
Great. You mentioned Szczesny. How can Ospina help Szczesny develop furthermore?
I think the main thing I would say probably is competition. You know, Szczesny will be, I'm not saying that he is complacent. I think he's a great keeper as well, but to have someone of that quality behind him, you know, he's going to have to be at the top of his game all the time. You know, it's possible miss a game or two, Ospina comes in, has a couple of blinders, and then he'll have trouble getting back in the first team. But also, as I said, just the experience that he's got both at club level and internationally, I'm sure he'll be able to help him, just give him tips on basically all aspects of his game. Certainly, I think command of the box. I know Szczesny's a sort of more imposing keeper, but Ospina is a great keeper at sort of using the whole of his box. I think anticipation. I'd say Szczesny's a better shot stopper. But I think this is the big thing with Ospina. In the World Cup, everyone made a big fuss about Ochoa, who I also like as a keeper. But he's one of those ones that gets the headlines because he makes a lot of spectacular saves. Now, Ospina, I would say he's capable of making the spectacular saves, but a lot of the time he doesn't need to because his anticipation is so good that it sort of doesn't come to that. He'll be one step ahead and kind of coming out of his goal and, making one-on-one, stopping the striker, even getting the shot away a lot of the time. He's also very good at taking crosses, which is particularly impressive considering he's relatively short for a keeper. So I think they've got different profiles, and they can he and Szczesny can help each other quite a lot.
Go on, Mario.
You mentioned shot stopper and confident in one-on-one situations. Are those two attributes a major plus in his game?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Nice they haven't had the best or the most stable defence the last couple of years. At times, it's arguable that Ospina's kind of appreciated that and really been, it's helped him develop his game a lot because he's had to be a lot more aware. I know, everyone's talking about sweeper keepers at the moment. They're all the rage. And, although his distribution needs a lot of work, he is very good at kind of spotting the danger very early on, coming off his line, and, clearing the ball, as I said before, it even comes to someone getting a shot away. I'd say that, that's arguably his biggest attribute. Very occasionally, as happens to any keeper, he can get caught out. Maybe once a season there'll be quite a big ricket or, possibly he overly commits and it's led to a red card or two. But really I wouldn't worry about that. I think that, overall he's fantastic in his anticipation, in his, as I said, coming out for crosses, coming out at strikers' feet. He's very brave. Great keeper.
You said that he's a bit of, obviously, agility and shot stopping is his number one attributes. Coming over to England and the way the English play the game, he'll be expected to come under a lot of pressure from high crosses and stuff like that. I don't know how much protection they get in France, but the game is a bit different here in England. Some people might have argued that earlier on in his Nice career, he was a bit susceptible to the high cross. Has he developed that part of his game? I mean, and is he confident enough to sort of withstand the kind of rigors of English Premier League football?
Yeah, I think he is. I mean, I know, everyone talks about the Premier League being quite a physical league. The French league actually is more and more nowadays, and probably to the detriment of the quality of football at times. There's been a lot of emphasis on physicality as well. And as I said, although I think he's 6 foot, which I guess at keeper standards isn't huge, he's brave, he's got a good jump on him, and yeah, he'll he isn't afraid to get stuck in. It's not necessarily a plus point, but he's got a little bit of sort of flair for the dramatic. So, in terms of keepers being well protected, he'll make sure that if need be, he'll get a free kick if he sort of goes down heavily and stays down, that kind of thing. But generally, there's a lot of kind of flappy keepers around. He's not one of them. He's got a good punch on him. He will catch the ball. I personally don't like keepers who go for a punch when the ball is catchable. He will catch it. He will hold it. As I said, he's 25, and which for a keeper is relatively young, but the experience he's got, he's improving every aspect of his game. Crossing was one of the slightly weaker sides of his game before, but again, the advantage of having a struggling defence in front of him the last couple of years means that he's had to improve that kind of thing to help bail out the team at times. And as in every other aspect, he's really applied himself and he's improving a lot.
Okay, cool. You said,
I think I should probably add, in terms of what I said about Nice and their struggling defence. Last year in particular, they had a very tough year, and he unanimously won the Player of the Year award. And all Nice fans, we've got a fantastic writer on the site who happens to be a Nice and a Columbia fan, not because of Ospina, but obviously that falls well. And she has said that it's common consensus around all Nice fans that if it wasn't for Ospina, they would have been relegated undoubtedly this year.
Mario?
Is Ospina a vocal goalkeeper? Does he control the defenders in front of him? Does he have the commanding role in him? That's the most important for me, because Szczesny obviously has that, but as a backup, he'll surely step up in the cup game. So, is he vocal and commanding?
Again, I'd say he's a little bit like Loris. He's not a screamer. He's not one of those really flamboyant ones that you'll see, kind of Schmeichel style screaming in his defence. But he does have command, a kind of a quiet command. So it might be, from what you said, it might not be exactly to your liking, because it might not be as obvious. But I think, he does know how to position his defence. He does know to kind of have a go at them when needed, but he won't necessarily do it in a way that 60,000 fans can see. But he commands the respect, and defenders will listen to him.
Cool.
Okay. You mentioned his experience. He won. I think by the time he'd come to France, he'd won at least one, if not two, titles in Colombia. Am I right?
Possibly, yeah. I'm more familiar with his French stuff than his Colombian.
So we're getting a very, very, as you said, very, very experienced keeper on our hands. You mentioned his comparison to Loris, who was previously at Nice. I mean, Nice have had a history of quite good goalkeepers, because they've had him, is it Lionel Letizia, who he learned from as well and took over from after his first year and never looked back. What kind of how would you compare him to someone like Lloris? Because Lloris has really sort of taken to the English league extremely well.
Yeah, I think, as I said, the main difference is, after Neuer, Lloris is the one that everyone keeps kind of pointing to as the sort of ideal sweeper keeper. Ospina does have the potential to be like that. As I said, in terms of anticipation and, using the full 18 yards of the area, he's very good at that. He will sort of, at times act almost like a fifth defender. But he does need to work on the distribution. He's good at using his feet to clear the ball, not so good at kind of, distributing it well, setting the team off on attacks. That's one area he needs to work on. So I think I'd still put Lloris a little bit ahead of him. Maybe that's a sort of French bias, I don't know. But definitely, as I said, a similar profile, both I think as a player and as a personality. And if he gets the chance, I think he can really establish himself as a number one keeper and as one of the best in the league. So
we're not expecting any scorpions then from him, like a la Higuita?
No, definitely not. Spectacular. Some of his one-on-one saves are spectacular, but no, I don't think he's that kind of personality.
Good stuff. He's an EU national now, isn't he? He's got his EU citizenship, so in terms of squad numbers, Mary, I don't think that should be a fit. That's a positive, in fact, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
I reckon. I think that's probably not just a coincidence that he's just got that, and now this year is the year that he's going to move.
Yeah, indeed. And also, there's another bit of trivia. Apparently, his sister is the wife or partner of James Rodriguez.
James. Yeah.
Shame
that could be useful if something goes wrong at Real Madrid.
Well, yes. Hope springs eternal, doesn't it? Hope springs eternal. So, Squawka.com rated him as the second best goalkeeper in League One, based on their stats last season. Did you say that you actually think he was the best goalkeeper in League One, in your opinion?
Trying to remember now. No, I don't. Last year, I think I'd have put 2 higher up than him. I think Enyama for Lille just had just one of those unbelievable seasons, and another keeper who's not very well known at all, even though he looks like Olivier Giroud's older brother, is Benoit Costil, who's at Rennes, who I think is very underrated and arguably was unlucky to miss out on the France squad. But I would definitely put Ospina in the top 3, top 5. As I said, I think although Ochoa kind of gets more headlines because of some of the saves he makes, I think Ospina's a better keeper than Ochoa. And yeah, I think it'll be a big loss to the French league.
So finally, people are speculating, is he coming in as a number 2? Do you think he can be content as a number 2? Could he challenge and possibly look to take Szczesny's spot as a number 1? What's your feeling? What do you think? I
asked Martha what she thought, and she said Colombian fans are very worried about him sort of rotting on the bench. And I think the view is that I don't think he'll be happy on the bench because he's used to being a number 1 keeper, but he's a sensible guy. He's not a problem. He doesn't create problems. So I'm sure, it's the kind of thing he'd have discussed with Wenger. He'll know exactly on what terms he's moving there, and if it is to be on the bench, then that's his choice, and he'll keep his head down, he'll work hard, and if and when he gets a chance, he'll definitely grab it. As I said, I have nothing against Szczesny at all. I'm a big fan of his, but I think Ospina deserves to be playing regularly, and if Arsenal give him the chance, he won't let you down.
Okay, so final question, very final question. Comparing him to someone like Fabianski, who would you say is the better keeper?
Definitely Ospina. Again, I do like Fabianski, but I just think Ospina he oozes class. I mean, in every aspect, as I said, occasionally because of the sort of anticipation, he might overcommit, but I think he's much less accident prone than Fabianski. The experience he's got at club and international level means that he's entirely unflustered. He's faced all the top strikers in the world, often comes out on top. Play around with his YouTube clips and some of the saves he's made against, the top Uruguayans, the top Argentinians, for example. He's good at the shot stopping, but as I said, often it doesn't even need to come to that. He's got a quiet authority over the rest of the team. It's another aspect in which he's grown. I mean, when he started, he was pretty shy, he was pretty quiet, but again, as his stature's grown, as he's kind of more confident of his place in the team, he's improved his sort of command of the defence. Also, to be fair, I don't think he's ever played with a defence in front of him as strong as Arsenal's. So it'll be interesting to see what effect on his game that has, because arguably he won't need to do as much anticipation, or possibly the Arsenal defence will be able to play higher up with him behind them. It would be good to see sort of how the defence and he play against each other. But I think there's absolutely no doubt that he's a stronger keeper than Fabianski.
Great stuff. We're getting a better keeper than we let go. All right.
I think so, yeah.
Great stuff. I want to thank you, Jeremy, for coming and taking the time to come on the show.
Pleasure.
All right. We'll speak to you again soon.
Okay, that would be great.
All right. Okay. Okay. All right. So that was Jeremy Smith of French Football Weekly, talking to us about hopefully the impending arrival of David Ospina from Nice. Mario, any other transfer news that we should be aware of?
Khedira is off the line.
Khedira is off now. The deal is off, is it?
Definitely. BBC Sport said it this morning, so we can move on.
Okay. Who? Any other names that have been rumored to might be coming in?
I think that Sporting midfielder William Carvalho.
We had a bid rejected, didn't we? But are we going back in, do you reckon?
I reckon we'll go back in. But we'll see. I'm not hopeful because his price tag is too much for me.
Right. And do you think that we'd have to meet his asking price to get him, or? Because some people are saying, some reports are saying that we might not need to bid the full asking price. Some reports are saying that, you know, asking price has to be met or release clause has to be, you know, what's your feeling on that one?
Well, at first we offered in 2 installments, and he's owned by three parties. We barely do deals like that. So it's a new field for Gazidis and Dick Law to negotiate. It might be tough, but if we put the money out, I think we'll get him.
Great stuff. All right. No strikers, Wenger said.
Yeah, I'm glad with that. I'm happy with what we have.
That sparks a lot of debate on Twitter. Half the fan base seem to be happy with the Sanchez, Giroud, Theo Walcott triumvirate. Others, and I'm kind of leaning to the other side. I think that we need a proper 20-25 goal a season striker in there, someone that's proven to get the goals. Do you think we'll have enough to shoot? I mean, let me ask you, what's your hopes for the season? Do you expect fourth in a FA Cup place again, or fourth in a FA Cup win again, or do you expect us to push for the title? What's your hopes for the season, Mario?
Well, you have your point when you're discussing about the striker need and all-around striker for 20 or 25 league goals. But I saw a stat that said around 12 or 13 teams won the league without having strikers who have scored 20 plus goals in the league. That's promising, but on the other side, I'm very happy with what we have, because Sanchez reminds me of an Henri Escu type, or let's say like Tevez Aguero. Giroud is good enough, but not for the big game, so I drop him. As for my expectations, I think we'll go high, we'll compete and challenge for the Premier League title. Unfortunately, I think Chelsea will nick it in the end, because obviously they have a bigger and much stronger squad looking on the paper, but we'll see on the pitch. Mourinho is a bit of a old school fashion guy. I think we'll win at least one cup, and I hope we'll go far in the Champions League, but FA Cup will do it again for me.
You're happy with the FA Cup for now? And
I think we'll challenge for the Premier League. I hope we win it, but we need a defensive midfielder, someone strong, powerful next to Ramsey to be able to compete with the big boys.
Okay, coolio, good stuff. All right, so hopefully we'll reconvene again, won't we, Mario? Hopefully there'll be more transfer news. I mean, Wenger did say that our transfer business isn't done, didn't he?
Yeah, I think 2 more will come, a centre back and a defensive midfielder, but when, we'll have to wait.
Cool. So right then, so I'll see you once those signings are announced, mate.
Yep.
Great stuff. Speak to you soon, mate.
Speak to you soon.